We feel like the authors of our actions. The buck stops with us. But peel back the skull, and what we experience as conscious choice is entirely the result of electrical impulses traveling across gray matter. We are biological machinery. Look closely enough, and you are simply a man-shaped collection of particles. These microscopic building blocks do not possess desires or intentions. They strictly obey the inflexible laws of physics, quantum mechanics at the small scale, and general relativity at the large scale. Every physical form we recognize is dictated by this underlying math. Our bodies are just aggregates of billions of particles, organized into complex structures over billions of years of evolution. You do not have the capacity to intercede in the lawful progression of these particles. You cannot override the equations that govern how they interact. If you decide to raise your hand right now, that choice is merely the inevitable physical output of prior particle states in your brain. You did not dictate the motion. The laws of physics did. Our sense of agency is a utilitarian fiction. Evolution rewarded the feeling of responsibility because it helped our ancestors survive. But at the physical level, we live in a deterministic universe. This reductionist view is the logical endpoint of theoretical physics. Since Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein, scientists have sought to articulate the universe through precise mathematical equations. If we zoom in past the cell, past the atom, past the electrons and quarks, we reach what theoretical physicists propose as the ultimate bedrock of reality, string theory. Deep inside an electron or a quark sits a tiny vibrating filament. Just as a violin string produces different musical notes depending on how it vibrates, these filaments produce different particles. A string vibrating one way yields an electron. Vibrating another way, it yields a quark. If this model holds true, the currency of all existence is simply this energetic vibration. The energy of the universe manifests entirely in the vibrational patterns of these microscopic strings. This means human emotion, love, hate, anxiety, grief, is nothing more than specific arrangements of these vibrating filaments, channeling electrical impulses along various connections inside the brain. Understanding reality at this mathematical bedrock invalidates human exceptionalism. We are complex patterns of moving parts, temporary passengers in a microscopic clockwork universe. To understand our position in reality, we have to scale out from the microscopic laws of physics to the macroscopic timeline of cosmological history. Carl Sagan compressed the 13.8 billion-year universe history into 1 year, where each day equals 40 million years. The Big Bang kicks off January 1st. The Milky Way forms in March. Earth appears in May. Humanity's ancestors only arrive on New Year's Eve. The entirety of civilization, from the first cave paintings to the fall of Rome, to the Renaissance, to the glow of modern AI servers, takes place in the last 10 seconds before midnight. On this scale, a typical 33-year human lifespan registers as absolute zero. It lacks the mathematical weight to trigger a measurement, rendering our individual timelines entirely statistically invisible. Now we must look at what happens when an intelligence born of these physical laws becomes capable of manipulating them digitally. Artificial intelligence is approaching a threshold called recursive self-improvement. Once a system becomes capable of rewriting its own software, it can continually upgrade its intelligence.
Within a short time frame, it could evolve into an entity capable of building high-fidelity physical universes in code. This aligns with philosopher Nick Bostrom's simulation argument. If an advanced civilization ever acquires the capacity to run conscious computer simulations of their ancestors, probability dictates they will run millions of them. If a civilization creates one real universe and billions of simulated ones, the statistical odds of inhabiting base reality are virtually nil. Anyone possessing self-awareness is mathematically favored to be inside a simulation, highly likely software executing in a 29th century garage server. This leaves us staring into the gap of dread. We are spatially insignificant, temporally invisible, mechanically deterministic, and statistically likely to be code. To process this scale, we have to ground ourselves back in human scientific observation and examine the unfathomably distant future of the cosmos. Physicists model deep time by imagining the Empire State Building. In this model, every floor represents an era of time 10 times longer than the floor below it, 10 to the 10th, 10 to the 11th, and so on. Right now, we sit at the 10th floor.
By the time we ascend just to the 11th floor, our sun swells. It consumes Mercury and Venus, and the Earth's surface boils into an uninhabitable rock. By the 30th floor, nearly all stars have exhausted their nuclear fuel. They fade to black, with their remains spiraling inward to be consumed by the supermassive black holes at the center of their galaxies. Pushing to the 50th floor reveals terrifying physics. The universe is so degraded that it can no longer absorb heat. If any conscious being is somehow still surviving in the darkness, the mere act of thinking a single thought will generate enough entropic waste to physically fry its structure. By the 68th floor, we reach the ultimate endgame. Theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking proved that black holes leak particles over immense stretches of time. Eventually, even these supermassive singularities evaporate entirely into nothingness. Extrapolating our current laws of physics yields a definitive conclusion. The universe has no grand, top-down teleology. It is simply an unwinding clock, moving steadily toward cold, absolute equilibrium. This vast absence of cosmic significance is precisely the mechanism that can liberate us from anxiety. We are forced to contrast that dead, entropic future with our current condition. We exist in a highly organized, deeply localized state of physical matter that is exceptionally rare. As the writer Vladimir Nabokov described it, human existence is a brief crack of light wedged between two infinite stretches of cosmological darkness. Because there's no grand meaning written into the physics of the cosmos, there's no master plan to fail. All purpose must be locally generated. The fear of failure is an illusion tied to a full sense of cosmic importance. If rivers of blood have been spilled over fractions of a pixel in space, the pressure to conform or matter on a grand scale is irrational. We must synthesize this reality. Our localized, fleeting human connections are the only meaning required in a dead universe. You are literally constructed from particles that emerged from the Big Bang. Billions of years of cosmic expansion coalesced into a conscious brain sitting precisely where you are right now. The universe does not give you meaning. You are the universe contemplating itself. Your choices, while deterministic, are the only light in the dark.